my name is Michelle Howell and I'm with the Proof Positive Group. I'd like to thank you for considering us for your template requirements. So to start with, this is just an overview of a some basic components that you may find in a proposal, manual, user guide, etc. So these are just some of the components that you can expect to receive standard within the templates that you receive. You certainly don't need to use all of them. You may want to use considerably more than are showcased here. We work to your requirements, so just let us know what would be best for you. So to start with, there would be a cover page. So typical cover page would include components such as the company name, title, a subtitle. The author's name is here by default, whoever computer it is. You can simply just override that, as well as date. Then there are other things that are quite helpful. For example, with the title, that also links to your properties of your document. It also can be linked to your footer. So in this case, if we were to type cover page, you'll see that cover page does show down below. Please disregard any highlighting or shading that you see. That is just because I have active fields enabled to show the gray background. It also helps for our screen demonstration, but it will not print, and you have a choice through a toggle to either have that active or not active. I prefer it active simply because you don't accidentally remove any coding that you have within your document. As we scroll through to page 2, we will see a table of contents. So the table of contents is currently set at 9 levels. You can have as many or as few levels as you feel appropriate for your needs. You can also change them whenever you choose to. So that can be very beneficial. They also hyperlink directly to the area that you want to go to. So I clicked on style, it brings us to the styles area. So that is also quite helpful. You have an option of many different predefined Microsoft layouts as far as the dot leaders. You can have dash leaders, line leaders, no leaders at all, or you can have something absolutely custom. So that would be an overview of your table of contents. Your list of figures, list of tables, and list of equations. You can have all part of them. You can again have different spacing, different font sizes. You can have it inset so you don't go margin to margin. Again, many different options. It can be totally customized to your aesthetic requirements. You also have an option to have all of your figures, captions, and equations together in one group. Some people prefer that. They prefer the option to have everything viewed by page number versus viewed by category. So this is also an option for you. With all of your tables of contents, list of figures, captions, equations, or any custom figures, captions, equations that you may want, such as quotes or anything else, those are all linked directly to styles, and this is your style pane. So they're all linked to the styles, so you simply right-click, update field, and you can choose to update page numbers only or entire table. No changes have been made, so there are no visible changes to the list of figures, but no manual updating is required. Your figures, tables, captions, etc. are also coded. So because they are coded, they will automatically update as well simply by hitting your print preview button and escape. And if you add or delete any tables, figures, equations, etc., it will automatically go through your document and update those. Also, if you have any cross references within paragraphs, for example, see figure X or see figure X-X, if you wanted your section dash the figure within that section to be reflected, those would also update with the simple print preview escape feature. No need to hunt and peck within the different paragraphs either. Everything will be fully automated as long as your templates are utilized correctly. So now we will be moving on. We also provide headers, footers, depending on if you have headers and footers predefined by a graphics firm, by yourself, or if you need something created, we also have designers that can do that for you, but we are very happy to work with any of your existing files, ideas, etc. So then we'll scroll down here, and this is a list of the actual styles. So you will also be receiving a copy of this so that you can go through. But whenever possible, I strongly recommend that you use as many of these styles that are provided by Microsoft as possible. There are several reasons for this. One is Microsoft is a like-to-like program. So for example, if you worked in another Word document and you just opened up a blank Word page and you applied a heading 1 and a heading 2 and normal text, and you inserted a table, for example, and then you took that information and you copied it and you pasted it into your new template. Well, once you do that, all of the properties from that blank or any other template, when you bring it over, will automatically switch to your fonts, your color palette, your font size, your heading layouts, your indents, etc., because Microsoft recognizes heading 1 from any source, bringing it into heading 1 of yours, and it automatically does that switch for you. Conversely, if you have a different numbering scheme or a different naming convention, such as you, instead of using normal, which is the default style for everything when you type is automatically set to normal, instead of using normal in your Word document, you named it XYZ Company Normal Text. Well, when you copy anything that has that in there, it will automatically default to normal, which is great if that was the intent. But if you create your initial color schemes, your style sets with something different, like unusual names, then when you bring from other sources, you're going to have to reapply a lot of formatting. So we can't change what has been done in the past if you have done that in the past, but going forward, that can be corrected to make for a very streamlined process, particularly important for stability of document as well. More and more companies are cross-platform and using multiple versions in the cross-platform. This creates tremendous problems, particularly when the Mac is involved. Now we are working with Mac, many users 8, 11, and now 16. In Microsoft Word for the PC, there's currently 7, 10, and 13 that are all very actively used, and 2016 is expected out sometime in September. It is currently in beta version. So with that many versions, cross-platforms, the tablet versions, which are kind of dumbed down versions of these, it creates tremendous problems if you deviate from the Microsoft structure more than necessary. Now that does not mean that you cannot have your own identity. You certainly can. All of these headings, any of the styles, for example, can have your fonts, your color sets, the spacing that you prefer, your very specific RGB colors. There's no problem at all with that. But the problem occurs with things such as indenting. If at all possible, unless you are a very aesthetically driven company who is willing to incur the risk of potential outline failures or problems, I would recommend using the Microsoft default spacing. So they're 0.5 by default. So I would strongly recommend that whenever you can do that. Try to steer clear of really customized outlines. Customized outlines create tremendous problems as well, particularly with cross-platform. If you try to jump from 2007 to 2013 within the PC, there are significant problems with that. So again, I will produce whatever it is that you need, but I will also disclose what will be a problem and what I will not provide a lifetime guarantee on. simply because I know that it is a very high-risk venture. And again, I will do it, but there are certain things that will be exempt from the lifetime guarantee just because of their high failure rate in certain environments. So this would just be your basic overview of all the styles that are included in Microsoft Office. Now, they will look different version to version. That is fine because this will be made to be your own. Now, if you do decide to move forward and work with us, a very easy way will be for you to just go over, and if you currently have a template set up, I would just suggest that you type an equal sign next to a style and provide the name of the current style. If you would like to preserve your budget, I am also happy to do that and go into your existing documents and do that cross-referencing for you. As you work with me or as we have discussions, you'll realize that I have a very flexible style, and I work with very modest budgets to almost open-ended budgets depending on where people are. Do they have more time or do they have more resources? So I try to work with you to meet whichever requirement is best for you. So that would be the overview of the styles. Then another thing that is very important when you are working with the Microsoft standard styles versus some odd override where you're exporting out from InDesign and you're not linking anything to normal, not linking anything to headings. Microsoft is built on linking, cross-referencing, and a very robust back end that you wouldn't even realize is there, but it is very powerful and provides a lot of options for users. But if you go and deviate too much from it, then it does disable a lot of the functionality. One of the pieces of functionality that is little known but I consider very valuable because I work in proposals a lot. For me, there are different requirements. For example, when I'm working in a proposal, if I'm just doing a quick read for myself and I need to print it out, I'm going on a plane, for example, I'm environmentally conscious, I prefer to not waste paper. I would choose no paragraph spacing because it's very easy for me to do a read on a printout. Some people require double spacing. They really like to take it out, take that red pen out, and kind of do it old school and like to just hand write everything. In that case, with just a click of a button, your entire document would be set up for double space. That's great. Then you can go back to, say, you want relaxed, you want open, you want tight, compact. You may want something custom. You can set it up absolutely custom, so everywhere it is 6 point after, it's 1.15, it's always left aligned, it's always justified. You can recommend a font color, certain restrictions, so there's a lot of flexibility if you work within the Microsoft presets as much as possible and then just do overrides for certain aesthetics. So that's just one more feature that I think really allows you to utilize some of Microsoft's functionality. Now we are going to move on to tables. Tables are also another great option within Microsoft. So if you were to insert a table or bring a table from another source, really easy to work with them, providing you are working in a proper template with a proper color scheme, proper font theme, and proper style assignments. Then you can very easily just double click in your table. You can choose any number of options. I've provided several here for you. Now these options can be taken a step further. You can also have customized tables. So you can have different configurations for customized tables. I don't recommend deviating too much from the defaults unless you are only using one version of Microsoft and you plan on only using one version of Microsoft for a minimum of 1 to 2 years. If you are going to be using multiple versions, multiple platforms, or fonts that are not standard to Microsoft, I would recommend that you stay within the parameters of the defaults as much as possible, simply to avoid any potential issues with cross-platform upgrades or having clients that you need to work with, such as some government, municipalities, etc., school districts are in lower versions than you may be in, and it will cause conflicts if you deviate too much from the defaults. So please disregard a lot of these things if it is not relevant to you, but this video is seen by multiple people with multiple requirements, and frequently I'm not familiar with the requirements at the time of releasing this video, so I apologize if it is too much information for your needs. Again, this would be a sample of figures. Figures also just get dropped right in, nice and easy. You can right click, insert caption. Captions are also inserted there based on your actual styles. So it wouldn't have to be blue. I just have blue here because it shows quite well with a smaller font size for screen demonstrations. But with a simple click of a button, you can choose if you want it to be a figure, a table, an equation. You can also choose if you want it to pick up your section information as well as your figure number or just your figure number. This would also be a sample of SmartArt. So SmartArt is the same thing. SmartArt is also something that is driven off of your color theme. It is also driven off of your font set and also driven off your styles. It is driven off your normal. So if you don't assign a normal font and a normal setup, then you may be constantly having to override your SmartArt due to a mismapping of information. So that is something that is also quite important. And another great feature with SmartArt is you simply click on these buttons. You can expand them. You can also change your SmartArt functionality. And I can go over that with greater detail if you choose to work with us. Same is true with charts and graphs. For charts and graphs, you also have the ability to simply click on it, and it always maps to your default body and heading fonts. It will default to specific color sets, things of that nature. So for example here, this is the color set that is assigned to this particular template. Same thing with our SmartArt, our tables, etc. You can also insert equations. This is just a sample of your landscape if you wanted a landscape and tabloid versions. Landscape is great if you have an image or a larger table that you want less word wrapping, fantastic. Some situations, such as proposals, they allow tabloid foldouts, which frequently count as 2 pages, but they are really great if you are doing a Gantt chart or other information that does require a longer width. So these are different options. We can also set things up for A4, so if you needed A4 because you're working with European clients, etc. So we can set up many different options based on your needs. We can also set up items such as 2 columns, if that is something of value, 3 columns, locked pictures, so if you wanted pictures that need to be locked top right, top left, bottom right, center, etc. We can actually create through drop-down menus any of those customized to meet your needs. So if you wanted an option for top right and you want it to be 3 inches by 3 inches with a built-in caption underneath with text wrapping around it, not a problem. We can create that. The user simply puts their cursor on the page where they want that information to be available for them. They drop it in, they automatically have a locked table with wrapping options, and they can insert an image, they can insert a table, they can insert a call out box, a quote, and any number of things that they would want. It would be dropped in, pre-formatted, fonts already assigned, colors assigned, spacing, the margin of wrap. Anything that you may need can be pre-built and placed within your template. So anytime you go File, New, select that new template of yours, anything that you may need can be in a drop down, and it is organized by headers, footers, by call outs, by tables, by whatever it is that you may need. So this can be as basic or as robust as required. So please don't hesitate to ask about any additional questions you may have. Any functionality, I'm happy to discuss any of that with you. Now, another thing that we didn't go over in great detail, but that is quite important, that is going over the color palette. Now, some people have multiple color palette requirements, which is fine, no problem at all. So for example, we just have a color palette set up here, so it's many different color palettes. Disregard the top portions, those are custom ones that I've just recently made, but there are also built-in color palettes. These are all built in from Microsoft, and as I scroll through, you'll see that the images are changing. So the color is changing, and that is because everything is tied to that. Now, if we were to come to the tables, you'll see the same thing. So if we scroll through, you'll see that all the tables are changing, which is great because they are all based on your color palette. Same thing is true for your fonts. So if we go through, disregard these are all customs. So we'll get down here. Okay, these are all the Office built-ins. So then if we come through, you'll see that the fonts change. Sometimes you got to hover for just a minute, but you'll see that the fonts are changing. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it is quite drastic, depending on the difference. And different fonts, as you see, take up different amounts of space within a document. So those are also things to consider if you have not yet chosen your font sets. So these are things that if you're working with a designer, they will advise you on what is best, and then I can confirm if that will or will not be compatible with Microsoft. Some fonts just will not install on Microsoft for PC. Other fonts have just completely different font names, and in some supplemental information that will be provided to you, it will provide information on fonts for Office version 27, 2010, and 2013 for the PC, and versions 8 and 11 for the Mac, and associated fonts for each of those, and that was published by Microsoft. I assume it is relatively accurate, but I can't say that I have gone through every version and confirmed that it is correct. Microsoft does change those from time to time. Unfortunately, the 2016 font releases have not been published for 2016 for PC or Mac, but that information will be appended when it is available. So that is an overview of some of the functionality, features, etc. that you can expect if you choose to work with us to have your templates built. There are similar functionality that will be available in PowerPoint. I don't currently have a PowerPoint setup like this available to you, but your colors, your fonts, things of that nature are all the same, and the PowerPoint would just be based more on your master slides. PowerPoint is also much more customized to the slide layouts, so that would just be something that I would go over with each individual based on their needs. Thank you for your time and for considering the Proof Positive group for your template development requirements.